Homesteading isn't for somebody who's looking to get rich quick. Anybody who has done any research into the matter knows that homesteading is in fact a money sink. But that doesn't mean that there aren't great, proven ways to make money while homesteading. Could any of these ideas turn out to be a full-blown profitable business? Of course, but that will take planning, work, and time. But for today, I'm just opening your mind to the ideas that have been proven to work time and time again. Ideas that shouldn't be overlooked. Whether you're just trying to control debt, get out of debt, or start a profitable business through your homestead, these ideas will not let you down. I'll start with the more common, yet well-proven ideas. But stick around until the end for the less mainstream ideas that might just scratch the itch of the profit bug if you want to get away from the beaten path. But now let's get into number one. Number one, selling animals and eggs. This is a huge area that covers a lot of different products, but here we are focusing on specifically animals, not meat, and eggs. The reason for this is to avoid the red tape that comes when selling food or processed meat. Selling meat adds a lot of red tape, but if you just want to keep it simple, selling a live farm animal for which the purchaser will then process themselves is a lot simpler. You can sell live chickens or eggs, and somebody is always looking to buy fresh eggs. They will typically sell easily without much investment on your part. And the best part about eggs is that you can still take what you need and have plenty to sell. Number two, creating and selling products from animals. Soaps and candles last a long time, which is a huge advantage over food products. And they are not that difficult to make. They can be made from animal products you create yourself, or you can purchase the products from other homesteaders and complete the item from there. It can sometimes be difficult to find a market for crafts, so you really need to make something that stands out from the rest, but it is still a worthwhile venture which is very little expense or risk to get started. Crafts are also actually fun to make. They're rewarding and can provide you with products yourself. Number three, sell vegetables. Another rewarding aspect of homesteading is having a beautiful garden. Why not expand that garden and the products so that what you don't consume, you can sell the remainder of for profit? People are very passionate about organic or natural products and will happily buy veggies from a homesteader, believing, correctly or incorrectly, that your product trumps anything they can find in a supermarket. Truth be told, regardless of how organic the food you produce is, odds are it'll taste much better than anything people are going to find at their local supermarket. So once they get a taste of what you have to provide, they will be hooked. There is certainly profit to be made for going full-on farmer and growing food to sell. And it might be a natural progression from your homesteading career. You can build up skills and learn lessons along the way that'll allow you to continue to grow almost infinitely with this adventure. The sky is the limit. It's affordable, and creating affordable, good-tasting food is always highly desired. It would be hard to find a more proven line of income than selling vegetables. Number four, keep sheep for wool. Sheep and wool go back roughly 10,000 years, so if you want to talk about an established activity, it's animal husbandry. Assuming you have somewhere for them to graze, you can definitely profit in sheep's wool. Wool has been used for a very long time, and there's always a market for wool, but you will need to find your way into it. It won't be quite as easy as setting up a vegetable stand on the side of the road, but once you find your clientele, you will most likely have a loyal revenue stream, as people will be looking for a reliable source of wool for their own endgame plans, such as yarn making or producing clothing products. There is quite a bit of labor involved in wool, but the great thing about it is that the further you process your wool product before selling it, the higher price you can fetch. Do you want to sell your dirty, unwashed wool sheared directly off the sheep? That is a very easy process labor-wise. You can sell it as is and have the next customer down the line wash it and process it. Or you could take the next step and wash it yourself, adding that little bit of extra value to it. Or you could go all the way down into processing that wool into selling rugs or clothing or whatever else you please, which will fetch a premium on the market. Wool is a very multi-purpose product, which is used everywhere from gardens to insulation in animal buildings. With so many purposes, you are sure to find a use for it. And the great part of wool is that the animal that produces it are some of the easiest to keep. They are called sheep after all. A good livestock guardian dog and a very basic fence will be all that's required for the containment of your product-producing flock. And what's not to love about that kind of simplicity? Number 5, sell a service. Learning a skill and selling that skill can be highly profitable, especially in a world where it seems like hands-on skills are becoming a thing of the past. Profitable homestead skills could essentially be an endless list, and the main focus should be on something you enjoy doing already, so it doesn't feel like work. Or focusing on a possible skill you already have that simply needs to be advertised. Examples of great homesteading skills that are in demand include sheep shearing, hoof trimming, animal first aid, or butchering. There are also plenty of specialty services that could be of use. House sitting for people who have homesteads that want to go on vacation, for example. People need somebody with a complete set of farming skills that would allow them to leave 100% of their responsibility to somebody else when they're gone. So that person needs a very wide range of farm skills. General laborers are also needed. Fences need building. It's an easy skill to learn that'll always be required. Machinery operators and landscapers would also be of value. If you have a farm-related skill, it'll definitely be of value somewhere. All you need to do is learn to market it. Going into the remainder of this list, we will be getting into slightly lesser-known avenues of revenue, which by no means they are inferior, but they might involve more special skills or an upfront risk, which is a higher investment. It's much easier to purchase and keep a chicken than a large, dangerous animal, but often the risk comes with a higher reward, so make sure you do a cost-benefit analysis to see what might be right for you. Number 6, raising honeybees. Raising honeybees is a wonderful pastime that can certainly bloom into a full-blown business all by itself. But raising honeybees comes with a unique set of challenges and risks that most things so far on this list haven't involved. First, raising honeybees produces 2 wonderful products, honey and beeswax, both of which are great products that are always in demand. Raising bees also feels like a rewarding experience within itself. But that being said, where there is a profit goal, there is certainly profit to be made by selling honey and wax. You can also turn your wax into excellent products that'll sell at a higher price, such as candles. Branching out further, you can rent your bees out to farmers and orchards for pollination purposes, which bring in a nice premium from your bees. The downside of bees is that there's a lot that comes with it. There is an initial setup cost to purchase the bees in the hives. There's always a chance that the bees will die over winter in colder climates, and then there are the deadly parasites that bees get that are costly to treat and will affect your honey production. Bees also require safety equipment to handle, and some labor is involved in checking and moving and harvesting honey. Finally, there is protection of bees from predators, which are also after the sweet honey. All these downsides being said, the potential for income is high, and bees are far more self-sufficient than any other livestock. They feed and water themselves and bring the product you desire right back home to share with you. so I'd argue it's one of the best livestocks to try your hand at, even if it is slightly out of the ordinary. Number 7, raise and sell worms. Raising worms can be a very profitable endeavor. There is a startup cost, usually for whatever housing you plan to use for your worms, but it is minimal. You can either raise worms for fishing or composting, but today's focus is on composting, as you will have compost anyway at your homestead. Composting worms are easily fed with things you have around your homestead and can be sold to other eager homesteaders. Many people who raise worms report a profit. However, there is research to be done in order to create the perfect environment for your worms, as well as how to properly feed them. Improper feeding can lead to a stall in reproduction or a huge attraction of bugs. If maintained properly, you will not need to worry about bugs, but things aren't always perfect, so finding a location for your worms might be the most challenging part. Worms need a proper temperature and humidity, and maintaining that outside of your home could be tricky or expensive, so make sure you have a plan first. Raising worms doesn't have to be expensive or complicated if you do your homework first. Number 8, mushroom farming. Mushroom farming can be hugely profitable, largely because of the excellent selling price of mushrooms. What is great about mushrooms compared to other food products is the small space requirement mushrooms have. So you can grow a lot of mushrooms in a small space, which means large profits. This also makes indoor operations viable, which helps avoid the randomness of outdoors. No storms, droughts, or floods to worry about. You can have complete control over your indoor grow operation. And granted, growing inside can have higher costs, but having a more controlled environment means you will have a higher yield and therefore higher profit. Mushrooms have a relatively low startup cost compared to growing other space-intensive crops, and no machinery is required. Mushrooms can be sold at farmers markets, and restaurants are always in need of a reliable supply. Breaking into the market may very well be the most difficult part, but well worth the trouble. Number 9, selling microgreens. Microgreens are a lot like mushrooms in that they require little space and have a huge profit margin for the small amount of space they require. Microgreens are essentially just immature plants that are harvested very early in their life cycle, which means they don't require much space to grow out, further improving their cost per space ratio. Microgreens are in high demand from high-end restaurants and people who want a very high-end healthy food alternative to what is typically found in a supermarket. The best part of microgreens is growing them inside, which means you don't need to worry about bad weather and you can ensure a very consistent crop. They grow on small trays and take up very little space. Their startup costs are quite low, though some equipment is required, including proper lights, shelves, and trays. That said, that equipment is only a fraction of the price of usual farm equipment. Microgreens can be harvested easily with almost no special equipment, further reducing the costs on your part. Truly, the hardest part of growing microgreens is the selling aspect of this product. It would be quite advisable to find a market ahead of time, as microgreens grow fast, are harvested quickly, but begin to decay just as fast. They need to be sold and consumed quick. Luckily, the time to grow microgreens is so short that you can often arrange to have them sold before you even need to commit to growing them, which takes most of the risk out of this amazing product. And there you have it, 9 proven ways to make profit on your homestead. This list wasn't exhaustive, but I wanted to provide you some of the most proven methods, even if some were a bit unusual. But I also wanted to open your mind up to options that haven't been repeated on every list you've probably read up to this point. I hope that something on this list jumps out at you, and if not, don't fret. My research into this topic has found me many more options that I'll be exploring soon, so stay tuned.